I am not self. I'm not a person who wants to die. I'm a person who has life and wants to live.
Situations with my ex-wife and with my daughter, and they both died the same way.
Oh, so
wow.
you
Okay.
think that he Whitney as well?
I believe so.
I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced.
Rumors or not, we've heard about how some Hollywood bigwigs stage a celebrity's death to make it seem like they took their own life. Well, there are speculations that this could have been what happened with Whitney Houston.
You're out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that.
There's been this persistent cloud of mystery that still hangs over the circumstances surrounding her death back in 2012 in her Beverly Hills hotel room. Over the years, her fans have been grappling with numerous unanswered questions. Who provided her with the found in her system? What drove her to use them that day? Was she alone, or was someone else with her? Some even wonder if there was foul play involved in her death. Jaguar Wright, for instance, has raised some serious doubts about the official explanation of Whitney's death. She claims that Whitney's death was not due to a heart attack, as the autopsy report suggested. Wright went further to allege that Whitney had multiple injuries on her body when she was discovered, which complicates the story even more.
They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat.
Now, it's well known that Whitney struggled with addiction, but there were also signs she was trying to turn things around. Reports suggested that she was on the verge of checking into a rehab facility and had already started receiving some form of treatment to combat her issues. Even Clive Davis himself, in an interview with Page 6, confirmed that Whitney had been making a sincere effort to quit before she passed away. She was showing me what she had done in rehab, he explained. How she had given up smoking, how she had cleared her throat of nicotine, and she was wanting to start going in the studio. I never would have thought 48 hours before her death that she would pass, that there would be that horrendous premature end to her life. He added, she was making a valiant attempt during that period to give up and rehabilitate herself. And speaking of Davis, he himself hasn't been immune to rumors. Some fans have raised eyebrows at his past controversies, being fired from CBS Records in the 1970s over allegations of misusing company funds and providing to artists and DJs. Some fans can't help but speculate. They wonder if history repeated itself in his dealings with Whitney, whom he signed when she was just starting out. The theory is that he could have been one of the people who supplied her with contributing to her tragic end. Also, the fact that Whitney died on the same day she was supposed to perform at Clive's pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton doesn't help quell these suspicions. Even more controversial is that Clive decided to go ahead with the party despite Whitney's death just hours before. To give you some context, Whitney Houston died on February 11, 2012. On the same day she was supposed to perform at Clive's pre-Grammy Awards party at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. But just hours before the scheduled party, Whitney's assistant discovered Whitney lying face down in a bathtub filled with water. Whitney was unresponsive, and her assistant called Whitney's bodyguard, Ray Watson, to help her get Whitney out of the tub. Ray later told the Mirror that the scene in the bathroom was surreal, and he panicked because he couldn't understand what happened to Whitney. I couldn't tell if she was alive or dead, Ray said. I got her out of the water and tried to revive her. Then it was all crazy. Whitney's assistant and her bodyguard called 911, and the paramedics arrived at Whitney's hotel room at 3:30 p.m. They performed CPR, but sadly it was too late, and at 3:55 p.m., Whitney Houston was pronounced dead.
We have breaking news tonight. Out of Los Angeles, the death of singing star Whitney Houston at the age of 48.
Now, the cause of why Whitney died wasn't immediately known, and the local police said that there were no obvious signs of criminal intent. However, after conducting an autopsy and running toxicology tests, the LA County Coroner's Office concluded that Whitney's death was caused by drowning combined with the effects of heart disease and use. And though the autopsy report noted external trauma on Whitney's body, the coroner ruled that there were no signs of foul play. However, Whitney's fans felt that there was something suspicious about the whole thing, and the speculation reached a boiling point after it was revealed that Clive Davis decided to go through with his pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton after he learned Whitney died. Now just think about this for a second. The Whitney Houston died, and her longtime mentor and other celebs were totally fine dancing and having fun while Whitney's body was above the banquet room. As for Clive, he claimed that he wanted to pay tribute to Whitney because that's what she would have wanted, and he insisted that Whitney's family didn't ask him to cancel the party.
Why did you let the party go on?
Of course, this is a personal thing, but the Grammys were the next night. You don't cancel. You turn an evening into a tribute to...
Did you give a to canceling?
Never.
You never thought?
Never.
Did you ever think...
And the family did not want me to give a thought. No.
This decision has been widely criticized by many of Whitney's friends and family members as being highly insensitive. Among the critics is Whitney's longtime friend, Chaka Khan, who openly called the decision insane, pointing out that this was the last thing Whitney would have wanted. Chaka Khan also took issue with Clive Davis's statement that the party served as a tribute to Whitney. She argued that it seemed highly inappropriate and insensitive to claim the party was a tribute when it felt more like a celebration, not aligning with the somber mood one would expect after such a tragic event. To her, and to many others, it didn't add up that someone who truly cared for Whitney could switch gears to celebration mode so swiftly after her tragic death. Chaka Khan further criticized the people around Whitney, whom she felt had failed the star by allowing her to engage in harmful behaviors like drinking and use without intervening. She noted how Whitney was flown in for the party without adequate support or care, painting a picture of a star being exploited for her fame up to the end.
The fact that she was drinking in public in these clubs in Hollywood seemed to me a potential recipe for disaster.
It absolutely was. And I stand by that. Flew her out to perform at that party. Should have provided someone to be there to somehow just keep the riffraff out of the situation.
And then on top of all that, a clip recently resurfaced on social media that shows just 2 days before Whitney's passing, she crashes an interview with Brandy and Clive Davis. She hands Brandy a secret note, and nobody knows what was written on it. Rumor has it, it was a warning to Brandy about Clive, but the contents remain a mystery. Also, some surprising details from the coroner's report that still have us scratching our heads are the cause of her death. The coroner's 42-page report concluded that Whitney's death was attributed to accidental drowning, heart disease, and use. An open bottle of champagne along with a spoon containing what was described as a white crystal-like substance were found at the scene, and the toxicology report stated that traces of Xanax, Benadryl, the muscle relaxant Flexeril, were in Houston's system. Another surprising detail listed in the report was that it noted there were items missing from Houston's room as well as her wallet. The decedent's California driver's license had been removed from the wallet, which was inside the purse prior to my arrival, the report read. Also prior to my arrival, the majority of the decedent's prescription medication bottles had been removed from a brown bag that was on top of the table in the southeast corner of the living room, and then placed on top of that same table. Something else suspicious mentioned in the report was the fact that Houston had wounds on her face when she was found in the bathtub. Specifically, there were 2 superficial abrasions to the left side of her forehead, and there was a superficial abrasion to the left side of the bridge of her nose. Forensic pathologist Cyril Weck explained that the water in the tub was so hot at 93.5 degrees that he doesn't think Houston was sitting in there, but somehow fell in and accidentally drowned. I think that she fell into this very hot water. That accounts for a little bruise that was seen in the left forehead area, some other pressure markings on the face, including the slight laceration of the lip and the fact that she is lying face down, he said. Also, her assistant insists there was foul play. Houston's assistant, Mary Jones, discovered the superstar in the tub around 3:30 p.m. local time. Jones recalled that she stepped out of the suite to pick out a dress option for Houston, and when she returned, the I Have Nothing artist was face down in the bathtub. Somebody was in the room with her, had given her these, and had found her drowned in the bath, switched off the taps, and left the room, Jones said. However, she has never been able to identify who that may have been. Adding yet another layer to the narrative around Whitney's tragic deaths is Bobby Brown, her ex-husband. He made startling accusations against Nick Gordon, his late daughter's fiancé, Bobby Christina. According to him, Gordon was responsible not only for Bobby Christina's demise, but possibly had a role in Whitney's death as well. Definitely, Bobby responded when asked on Facebook Watch's Red Table Talk on whether he believed Nick Gordon provided. He was the only one there with both situations with my ex-wife and my daughter, and they both died the same way. So, just 3 years after Whitney died, her only child, Bobby Christina, also passed away in the same manner as Whitney. On January 31, 2015, Bobby's former fiancé, Nick Gordon, and another friend found Bobby face down in a bathtub in her home in Georgia. Bobby was still alive and breathing when the paramedics arrived, and doctors placed her in an induced coma. However, after being in a coma for nearly 6 months, Bobby Christina died on July 26, 2015, at the age of 22. The initial autopsy found no obvious underlying cause of death and no significant injuries. However, it was later determined that the underlying cause of death was immersion associated with intoxication. But the manner of death could not be confirmed, and the autopsy report stated that the medical examiner was not able to determine whether the death was due to intentional or accidental causes. Now, Bobby Brown's accusations against Nick Gordon did gain some traction when you consider the financial stakes involved following Whitney Houston's and later Bobby Christina's deaths. Bobby Christina was Whitney Houston's only child and the primary heir to her fortune, which puts a significant financial incentive in the mix. Nick Gordon, who was romantically involved with Bobby Christina, initially claimed that they were married. If that were true, it would have positioned him to inherit Whitney's assets that had passed to Bobby Christina upon her death. However, it turned out that Gordon and Bobby Christina were never legally married, which threw a wrench in any plans he might have had to inherit the Houston fortune. According to reports by Celebrity Net Worth, this revelation meant that after Bobby Christina's tragic death, all of Whitney Houston's remaining assets would revert to her estate rather than going directly to any spouse. The estate's beneficiaries were Whitney's mother, Cissy Houston, and her 2 brothers, as per ET Online. None of Whitney Houston's substantial financial assets were set to go to Bobby Brown or Nick Gordon unless Bobby Christina had specifically included them in a will, and there's no public record of such a document existing before her untimely death. In July 2020, Nick Gordon, Bobby's former fiancé who discovered her body, also died of a suspected OD. But fans are still dismissing Bobby's claims, pointing out that Bobby was probably trying to deflect from the fact that he was the one who introduced to Whitney. Fans are also saying that Whitney's substance use and the way she obtained those substances is beside the point, and we need to look at the bigger picture and the people who profited from her death. Of course, fans are now pointing the finger at Clive Davis, and some of them are even saying that Clive's pre-Grammy party was a blood ritual. So, if these people profited from Whitney's work, what would they have to gain from her being dead? Well, when we're talking about huge stars like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and Prince, they're actually worth more dead than alive, because when someone big like that dies, their catalog instantly starts doing crazy numbers. Also, the celebs can never challenge the labels and others involved for the full control of their music. Now, when it comes to Clive Davis, as of February 2024, he has a net worth of $900 million, which makes him one of the richest men in the music industry. Now, to be clear, Clive didn't earn all his money after Whitney died. He's been building his fortune for a very long time. However, Whitney's fans are still convinced that Clive is somehow involved with Whitney's death. Also, we also can't overlook the major role that Hollywood played in Whitney Houston's tragic end. From the moment she entered the music scene as a bright-eyed teen, her dreams mirrored those of many aspiring artists, dreaming of pop stardom. However, the entertainment industry, especially for someone with any vulnerabilities, can be a perilous place. It's a world saturated with so-called yes men, immense wealth, and those infamous hangers-on. Whitney found herself struggling to handle the crushing pressures that come with being under the constant spotlight. In the music industry, celebrities often face a harsh dilemma. burn out under the relentless demands, or step away from the limelight and risk losing their fame, not to mention facing criticism from fans and managers alike. It's a narrative not unfamiliar to other stars like Bob Dylan, who, after rising to fame in the 1960s, chose to become reclusive due to overwhelming attention from obsessive fans. Over time, Dylan retreated from the public eye, maintaining a close circle of family and friends, yet some fans still felt betrayed by his withdrawal. Whitney's story, however, took a particularly devastating turn. By 2009, she attempted a comeback, driven by financial necessity and a longing to reclaim the adoration she once relished in her heyday. Years of spending on had depleted her wealth, pushing her to the brink of bankruptcy. She was no longer the young starlet, but was desperate to recapture that level of fame and adulation. Despite her efforts, she was surrounded by an entourage that, in many ways, should share the blame for not protecting her from the pitfalls of fame. Instead of guiding her to a sustainable path, they pushed her harder towards reclaiming past glories. This drive for a comeback often meant Whitney was pushing herself beyond her limits, attempting to reach highs that were perhaps no longer attainable. The harsh reality was that she was sinking deeper into despair, a quicksand of unhappiness that was exacerbated by a dangerous mix of prescription. Tragically, this mixture may have been what led to her being found alone in that bathtub. Anyway, let us know what you think about all this in the comments section, and we'll catch you in the next video.